Career development is an interactive process. It is not something you can do in isolation. Here we review a number of people factors that, whether simple or more complex, must not be forgotten and can assist practically with making your career development activity successful. Keep a people file. Problems, opportunities, and people go together. So often, when something crops up and you need information, assistance, or advice, the first thought that comes to mind is related to a person. They'll know, you say to yourself, and then you think again. You can see them in your mind's eye. You know you met them at that conference you attended in Penang. Or was it Hong Kong? You had a meal together. But what was their name? What company did they work for? Where is their business card? You cannot find the name, and something that might be sorted in 2 minutes on the telephone ends up taking an hour. We all do it. In some ways, no great harm is done. After all, you cannot keep in touch with everyone, and it is difficult to know who will be useful in 5 years' time. Remember, career development is a long-term process. But it is probably better to note too many names than to miss good ones. Therefore, you need a people file. This is a little more than an address book or a file for business cards. It needs to record some information about each person, enough so that you can call something to mind about them. For instance, record the date you met, where you met, the circumstance of meeting. Did you sit next to them on a flight or meet them at a conference? Also, were you introduced by a third party? And if so, who that person was. And keep name, position, company, contact details, etc. And also maybe something about them. Knows all about regression analysis, or can recommend a good restaurant in Tokyo. There can be no half measures here. It must be done systematically. It must be done regularly. It is amazing how quickly some of the detail about someone is forgotten. And it must include everyone that may be useful in the future. You can always prune it a little over the months and years so that it remains manageable. There is an old saying that it is not what you know, but who you know, that matters in life. If there is any truth in this, and there must be, you have to know who you know. Such a system is not an option in career development. It is a prerequisite. Use networking. Before we networked, we kept in touch. It is no good having a good network of contacts, safely noted, as just mentioned, and then not keeping them live. You have to keep in touch. It matters less how this is done than that it should happen. The frequency will vary amongst your list of contacts. Some only need a card once a year, at Christmas or New Year perhaps. Others need to be called a couple of times every month, and some will contribute to the frequency of contact by contacting you. Networking is a two-way street. Sometimes the contact is social. Sometimes it is based on a specific request for help and information. Sometimes it is unashamed brain-picking. Before he retired, I used to see an American consultant regularly. He would phone up and say he was in town and suggest a lunch or a breakfast. He was a nice guy, and it was always good to see him. It was also enormously stimulating. He could pack more ideas, more creative thinking, and more examples to back up points made into what was essentially a social contact than anyone I have ever met. An hour and a half with him was like a mini-seminar, and it was tiring. You did not realize how much you were thinking and concentrating until you came away from the session. I learnt a great deal from him, but he did too. He was an unashamed brain picker of the highest order. Good networking is like this. It is interesting. It is fun.